Hey everyone, this is your host Prajot Mindkar. Welcome to another episode of the Growth Marketplace. Well, today's topic is about dwelling into past. I come across so many people, and of course, even I have been through that same phase of life wherein we tend to think about some factors in life, our decision making in the past, and sometimes we feel bad about it. It might happen so with your business decisions, it might so happen with your love relationships or any other relationship in the world. And it is very important for all of us to realize that it's okay. I mean, you talk to yourself and you realize sometimes it is okay to learn from mistakes, but yes, don't repeat these mistakes. And a lot of time people talk to me about, hey Prachur, there are few things that life has shown me in the past, and should I go back to the previous life? And I'm like, hold on, there's a lot to that itself. And we all undergo at least once in our life where we feel like, oh, wish I should have not probably proclaimed those opportunities, or we should have probably thought better. So why do I say that going in past or dwelling in past is really impactful? A, which brings me to the most important, and that is, you don't tend to move ahead. Then you feel so demotivated with the decisions that you must have taken, or probably the past has impacted you physically and mentally that you can't move ahead in life. Second, not only mentally but your physical strength decreases, and it demoralizes you so much that your thought process or your goal sets don't really match thereafter. Sometimes you might deviate yourself from where you want to really be in life, and you undergo the stress atmosphere wherein you lose the strength of actual decision making, and that can really impact. I remember the research that was done by University of Ohio way back in 2013, which said that the amount of stress people take to dwell into their past can really impact so much of their health, and that is particularly related to the heart. And I think there are so many factors which correlates to this, and you don't only feel like going back sometimes, but sometimes it progresses your thought process in a reverse direction than going ahead. And there are two techniques to this, and I'm going to cover another episode with the second technique, but in this particular episode I'm going to talk about the first technique, which is your shaping your mindset. And that is where I'm going to give you some tips about how well you can structure your thought process, that even if it goes into past, how to monetize it efficiently. And when I say just to monetize it, it doesn't really mean get a value out of it, but also to structure a thought process. Even at any point that you feel like going back to your life, you don't spend much of the time. And I'm going to share about four important points here. First, if at all you want to go into the past and you think as a person's perspective, what you could have actually done better. That brings me to the second point. Think and note down those points, what you could have done better. And I think the first point where I mentioned about third person's perspective is think from a non-biased way about how you could have approached that situation without impacting. The second, of course, as I mentioned earlier, note down those mistakes that you could have done, and try to see what better approach you could have followed to that. Third is give a mind a specific time set to structure when you want to revisit those mistakes or anything in the past that you feel like you could have erased. Nothing can be erased in the past, but what you can't really erase is the time you spend into it. If you're probably spending 4 hours in a day or going back to your life, well, spend 4 minutes. Essentially, I always think that you should spend 10 to 15 minutes to go in your past and think what you could. Don't go to your past thinking you can change it. Go to your past to think what you can improvise. A lot of time people undergo love breaks, and I think that is one of the most disheartening thing uh, that can even happen to anyone. And it is very important. Sometimes you feel okay, it was her mistake, it was your mistake. Well, it doesn't really matter. The relationships didn't last, you did move on, right? And that is what you need to do. Think about the factors what you could have improvised. That doesn't really matter at what time you think, but it is also important that you give a very specific space to your mind so that you can revisit it, note down those mistakes, and improvise. And the fourth very essential point, involve yourself in something that you really love. It could be paintings, it could be something related to drama, art. Be passionate about it. The moment you start thinking about it, try to deviate your mind to something which you are really passionate about, which is very important for all of us to realize that we dwell in, instead of dwelling into the past, you can dwell into something that really it's impactful. I always call this term as romanticizing with your past. Do not do that. That's not going to just hold you, into the past, but also block your forward motion. And you don't want to get into the situation wherein you feel, bad about things that you did in the past. And I'm sure that all of us don't want to be, felt, to be made feel bad about the decisions that we have taken. Well, that doesn't matter. We are humans. We are here to make mistakes. Well, how often we make mistakes is a different story altogether, but it's important for us to realize that we can improvise on those mistakes. So I'm going to quickly iterate this. Shape up your mindset. That's the whole episode about. First is, of course, think from the third party's perspective, how someone else could have handled that situation. You don't have a control on the situation, but well, as a third party, how someone else could have handled a situation. Write. Second point, of course, write those points where you could have improvised based on the point that I mentioned in the first case. Third, of course, think about segments in life where you could have improvised on. More importantly, from a perspective that it helps you, to dwell into the future motion. Fourth, of course, look at the point wherein you structure your mindset in doing something which is more exciting than dwelling into the past, because you don't want to get into a frame of mind wherein you spend a lot of time in the past. Well, you have a life ahead of you, like all of us. Why don't we spend so much into the ahead motion rather than going back? So in the next episode, I'm going to talk about the second component to this, how it will help you out to improvise, to come out of the past, to be honest. And it's an iterative process. You need to think about it. And the reason why I say going in past is nothing bad is because sometimes we have to take a decision based on the past. We can't erase this, of course, as I mentioned, but you can improvise on those factors in life for your own benefit. So don't give too much of time and importance to such things. Go back, visit it. It's like one off door. You just enter, you spend some 5 or 10 minutes, and come back. Or probably I can give you a clear resonance to this, to a window shopping. Just scan through the windows, and you can probably just go out of, or move away from that window, frame, and you still, so you don't get into that. So of course, I'm sure that all of you or some of you listening to this might at least correlate to what I have spoken to the past, but I'm going to be more than happy, to take some few questions. If you have, you can leave a comment on the thread. I'll be more than happy to answer, to hear stories from you. But yes, before we go to the next episode, I would be really happy if you can subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends, because it's all about growing together and helping each one into this community to do and help all of us together. So cheers. Signing off, your host Prajot. I hope all of you are looking forward to the next episode, which is in continuation to this one, where I'm going to talk about how to come out of the past. So stay tuned for the next episode. Signing off, it's Prajot.